Welcome to Tableau Server Training sessions. So during these sessions, we will learn about the Tableau software, Tableau Desktop, a little bit about Tableau Desktop, and then about the Tableau Server and all the administrative activities that one can do on Tableau Server and make it easy for the users to actually consume the reports, BI reports that get developed using Tableau. So let's just take a step forward and try to understand what Tableau is. So Tableau comes into picture in a BI environment. We have the data, and we have an ETL process. We have the transaction tables, and we have the ETL process that picks these data and then transforms them and then loads them into an EDW. So you have your daily transaction data, sales data, etc., and then you have loaded that into your data marts and data warehouse. You built your dimension modeling, so you have your dimensions and facts built, and then now with this information I would like to answer a lot of questions that I have about my business. So how well is my business doing? How has it done in the last 52 weeks? And how's my last 13 weeks sale? So these are the different questions which any of the higher management or CXOs would have about their business. So this is where actually Tableau comes into picture. So Tableau is a software which anybody can use, whoever is having any questions about their data and have the need to understand what is happening, with their business. So Tableau helps the users create rapid visualization and then lets them analyze their data and then gives them the answer to the questions that they have about their business. So this is where Tableau comes into picture. So Tableau is a BI visualization and reporting tool. So let's just take another step and let's see what is the architecture of Tableau. So as we can say, Tableau has a highly scalable entire client-server architecture that serves mobile clients, web clients, and desktop installed software. Okay, so now what are the two different components or the two main products which Tableau has? Tableau has to offer. So Tableau Desktop is one of them, and Tableau Server is the other. So what is Tableau Desktop? So Tableau Desktop is basically the authoring or the publishing tool, which means that it is using Tableau Desktop that a developer would actually go ahead, connect to the data source, and build a workbook or build a dashboard basically, and then with all those charts and information about the data. And then once these dashboards are created, how do we share it with the business users? So one of the ways of sharing it with the business users is publishing it onto a server. So this platform is Tableau Server. And when we look at the picture here, so this kind of tells us what is the architecture of Tableau is. So this part over here forms the server, and this part over here forms the client. So we can see here Tableau Desktop is a part of the client in the architecture. So once a developer connects to the data source, creates his reports, builds a dashboard, and then publishes it to the server for the users to then go and consume the reports. So once he is published this, then the server comes in a picture. So what we see on top of over here, which is the customer data, the customer data source could be any of the data sources, any of the many data sources that Tableau supports natively. It could be a data warehouse, it could be a mart, it could be flat files, or it could even be multidimensional OLAP cubes. So once we have one of these underlying databases as our data source, then the data connectors on the data connector component on the server comes in a picture to go and connect with the data source. So if it's a relational table, the SQL connector comes in a picture, and if it's a cube, then the MDX connector comes into play. And there's something called the fast data engine, so we're gonna know about this a little later, and also there's something called repository here, so I'm gonna talk about this a little later as well. And then we have these other main components, which is like the data server, the SQL server, and the application server. So the data server is where Tableau saves most of its data source information, the data sources itself, and the various things that are associated with the data source. The SQL server is a proprietary SQL, in fact, is a proprietary language, which connects to the data. Once it understands the data and then brings it in a visualizable format, so which makes it pretty easy for the Tableau server to then go ahead and render these images and then render these beautiful graphs at a very rapid pace. And then we have the application server, which actually takes care of all your permissions and then authentication, etc. And then we have this gateway or the load balancer. So when we have an architecture where you have more than 2 servers in your Tableau server architecture, then when there are lots of client or lots of customers or users trying to log into the server and then consume the reports, the gateway or the load balancer comes into picture and then does the job of sending the request to the right server. So this is the high level architecture of Tableau. So before we really get into the server, let us just go ahead and see what Tableau desktop is, and then how is the report built. Briefly understand the Tableau desktop environment, and then we will go deeper into the Tableau server. Okay, so as we discussed, Tableau desktop is a data visualization application that lets people analyze virtually any type of structured data and produce highly interactive, beautiful graphs, dashboards, and reports just in minutes. So it's very easy to start using Tableau. So all you have to do is point into the data source that you have, and then you have wonderful charts coming up, and there are really cool features in Tableau which will help you build your dashboards and reports at a very good rate and pace. So again, using Tableau, we can build and interact with the views of data. So the views can be interacted with in terms of trying to filter something out or sort the data and create these drill downs and drill ups, and then create calculated fields and group the data, summarize it, and all those things can be done very easily using Tableau's inbuilt functions. So Tableau desktop, to summarize it, helps us create wonderful visualizations and interactive dashboards at a relatively fast pace, and then provide those insights to the business so that they can make well-informed decisions about the business. So let's just go a little further into Tableau desktop. So how does a Tableau desktop interface look? So the Tableau desktop interface is something similar to this, what we're seeing here on the slide. So we have different windows for the dimensions and the measures, and the data window over here, and then we have these called the shelves, so the filter shelves, the page shelf, and the marks cards, and this part of the this part of this worksheet is very important, which is the rows and the columns. So again, just for our information, Tableau the Tableau desktop interface is pretty. You can almost relate it to at a high level with the Tableau. Microsoft Excel kind of setup. So you have Microsoft Excel workbook, and then similarly the whole thing over here is called the Tableau workbook, and then you have something called a worksheet in Tableau, which is this tab over here. And you can relate it to the Excel worksheet. So you have one Excel workbook and you have multiple Excel worksheets within that workbook. So it's a similar kind of a thing with Tableau. So you can relate to that as a Tableau workbook, and then which has multiple Tableau worksheets within that. So the worksheet is where actually the work happens. This is where a developer would go ahead and then create all the views and reports. So this part is called a view. So this is basically what is drawn by Tableau based on what we drag into the columns and what we drag into the rows. Okay, so this is basically the Tableau interface. Let's now go ahead and look at the Tableau interface. So let's bring Tableau up. Okay, so this is how it looks. So in the slide we saw how what the Tableau interface looks like. So even before that, actually, one of the most important things in Tableau is connecting to data. So yeah, I mean, everything is fine, but then how do we connect to data in the first place? So it is pretty simple. When you bring up Tableau, you have this section over here which says connect to data. So that is the first thing that you will have to do any kind of reporting or visualization using Tableau. So, and one more thing that you might notice here, that you have something called the saved data sources. So these saved data sources come along with the Tableau desktop installation. So even if you do not have any data with you to get started, you can actually use this Tableau's sample data sources. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this connect to data. Okay, so now you see that Tableau provides us various options, native connections to a lot of different databases and data sources. You have right from flat files over here to relational database, SQL, MySQL, and then you have Netezza, and you even have Greenplum, and then you have Teradata, and it also provides connectivity to Amazon Redshift and Microsoft SSAS, and then even to the Hadoop, the big data. So there's a lot of connectivity which Tableau provides. And then if you have any data source that is not listed over here, you can actually go ahead and build your ODBC and then use this section over here to actually go and connect to the database. So let's use the Tableau sample data sources that have been provided to us by Tableau. So again, we can choose to go ahead and click over here and directly use the data source, or we can actually go ahead and click this section over here, which I'm going to do now, Microsoft Excel. So it's going to open this a window over here, and then it tells me where exactly is my sample data sources stored, which is in my documents, my Tableau repository, and then you have it in the data sources. So let's go ahead and connect to the sample Superstore subset Excel. Okay, so what we see here is that it is connected to a data source, an Excel data source called the sample Superstore subset. Again, if you see below, it has got 3 tables within that Excel workbook, which actually are these are actually 3 different worksheets within the workbook, Excel workbook. So each of that is considered as a table over here, and then it gives us 3 different options. One which says a single table, the other one says multiple tables, and the other one is custom SQL. So these are different ways of connecting to the database. In this case, it's an Excel, and I'm going to use now the single table and go ahead and create um, connect to this, the orders, and just yeah, since it's Excel, we're just telling it that the first row has field names in it, and then it gives you an option to actually go ahead and change the name of the data source if you want to. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click OK here, and again the next dialog box over here, and it gives us three options. One that says connect live, the other one says import all data, and the other one says import some data. So how these things matter, the connect live is actually what that means is, whenever we are using this connect live option, we are connected to the database um, all the time, and then if any time there is any change in the underlying database, uh, just a refresh on our Tableau desktop would bring those changes in, and when we have it on the server, any change, when we have already published this dashboard on report on the server, any change in the underlying database um, would be reflected in the report. Importing all data, what that means is Tableau is going to bring all the data inside locally and then connect to that instead of connecting live to the database. So these options are used in various different scenarios, which we can probably discuss in a later stage. So now what I'm going to do is just connect live, and then yeah. So this is what the Tableau desktop environment looks like, interface looks like. So what we're going to do is, since we're going to talk more about the server in these sessions, I'm just going to try and build quickly a dashboard, and then we going to we got we are going to then have it published onto the server, and see all the interactions that we can do through the server, and then all the administrative activities. So I'm just going to quickly build a dashboard over here. Quickly build a couple of worksheets, and then put them together in a dashboard, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to take product. If I consider that I want to see the sales um, by product category, so I'm just going to click on this, and then I'm going to hold the control key and click on the sales, and you see automatically on the right side the show me window over here. It shows what all different types of charts that I can build over here. So now it's highlighting the bar chart, the horizontal bar chart for me, which it suggests that it's the best option for the dimension and the measures that I've selected. So okay, I just click on it, and then it creates a dashboard. It creates a view for me, and then I'm gonna just do sort it by sales, and then I'm gonna color it by profit. So this has given me sales by product category. And Tableau also provides very good mapping options, so I can just double click on this and get the information over here. So now, and then I can drag the sales and the size. Just increase the size a little bit, and I'm gonna again color it by order priority. Okay, I'll check the map option. just normal. Okay, so I have these two different views, and then let me just quickly put this together into a dashboard. So this is a dashboard. So I just drag it here. And drag this one down here. Okay, show title. So let me call this the sales dashboard. So now we have the dashboard here. Okay, so this is a very simple dashboard. Let me call it something like a sales workbook. So this is what when you save the file, the Tableau file, the workbook, it actually saves as a .twb file, which is nothing but the Tableau workbook. So let me go ahead and save this. So now that I've created a dashboard, a very simple dashboard, just for illustration purpose, probably doesn't make too much of sense in terms of what visualization I've put together here. But then it's just to illustrate the feature of Tableau where I can just quickly go ahead and grab a couple of dimensions and measures and create a dashboard. And then now what? So now I've created this beautiful dashboard, and then where do we go from here? Now how do we make this available for the business users for consumption? So that is when the server comes into picture. So that is where you see here on the menu, which says the server menu. So now it says publish workbook. Okay, so this is where the server comes into picture, and we need to have a server ready, installed, and set up before we can actually go ahead and publish this workbook onto the server. So let's just go back to the slides that we had. Okay, so this was the Tableau interface that we spoke about, and then the slide just talks about the different sections in the Tableau interface, the desktop basically, and then this is how we can connect to data. This is another way of connecting to data, and most of the things in Tableau desktop, there are multiple ways of doing the same thing. So this is another way of connecting to data, and this is what we did. So we came here, and then we selected the Microsoft Excel, and then we connected to the database sample substore data, and then again. This is just an explanation about what connecting live means, and then what the import option means. So as we just discussed earlier, connecting live is actually Tableau sends a dynamic SQL or an MDX query directly to the underlying database, and then gets the data as and when we access the report. So there's a different scenarios when you would actually go for this. The one of the scenarios would be, as I had mentioned earlier, that the business user wants live data in the reports. So as and when there is a change happening in the underlying database, they would want the report to be refreshed with the new data. So that's when you would go for this. And also, not just that, you would also want to go and understand whether your whole infrastructure architecture supports this live connection, because you might have database sitting in some remote server somewhere else, and then you have your Tableau server on some other hardware, and then the user might be accessing it from some other part of the world. So we have to make sure that all our network, we do not really have any network issues, and we have good well-performing network, so that the Connect Live is actually working fine. So these are some other considerations that you might have to think of. Okay, and the second one was the other option it gave us was to import everything. So this import all is nothing but Tableau. If Tableau runs this query and then gets all the data and then puts it locally in a file called Tableau Data Extract. Okay, and then connects to this Tableau Data Extract instead of connecting live to the database. So this is again you could have actually go for this option whenever you are aware that the business is not gonna need the underlying data as and when it refreshes to be reflected in the dashboards, or when you know that you are building your report on a EDW which is getting refreshed only once in a week. So you can actually then schedule a weekly refresh and then make sure that the refresh runs whenever there is a refresh on the in the EDW in your EDW, so that you are having, even if you're working off an extract, you're still having the most recent data which is there in the EDW. So that way it makes it faster. So the advantage of going for this is that the Tableau renders reports faster when working off Tableau data extract file as opposed to connecting live to the database. So, so that's those are the two different scenarios and of connecting to database. So now this is the dashboard that we saw. Now we just built a very simple dashboard. Just put two sheets together and then put that into a dashboard. And then this is what we tried to do. We tried to publish the workbook to the server, but then right now we really don't have a server. So what do we do? So now we have to actually go ahead and then um, have the server downloaded, installed, and then configured.